Welcome to Mobtown. Baltimore in the 1850s is the third largest city in the United States, an explosive, hyper-industrial boomtown built entirely on the friction of opposites. It is where the deep water ships of the Atlantic crash headfirst into the iron rails pointing west. It is a border city where wealthy Southern enslavers brush shoulders with the largest population of free black Americans in the country. It is a city of cutting-edge telegraphs and brutal bare-knuckle street gangs. Using historical harbour logs, 19th century architectural surveys, and the first-hand accounts of the era, we have completely reconstructed the roaring, soot-stained reality of America's most dangerous and vital port. We are going to step off the cobblestones and into the machine. Imagine managing the fastest ships on the ocean, dodging violent political street brawls over a fire hydrant, and eating raw oysters under the glow of brand new gaslights. Experience the raw engine of 19th century America from the inside out. The day begins at 5 a.m. in a neighborhood just north of the harbor. You wake up in a quintessential Baltimore row house. It is built of deep red, locally fired brick, but its defining feature is right outside the front door. Even at this early hour, servants and homeowners are out on the brick sidewalks, using pumice stones and water to meticulously scrub the pure white marble steps leading up to their doors. The marble is quarried just a few miles north in Cockeysville. In this densely packed, soot-covered city, maintaining a gleaming white marble stoop is an absolute obsession, a daily, undeniable declaration of respectability against the grime of industry. But you do not have time to linger. You are a shipping broker, a master of logistics, and the lifeblood of this city is down at the water. You walk down the steep, cobbled streets toward Fells Point. The smell hits you blocks away, a heavy, intoxicating mix of Chesapeake Bay brine, boiling pine pitch, raw tobacco, and the sharp tang of coal smoke. The harbour is an absolute forest of wooden masts, and ruling this forest is the pride of the city, the Baltimore Clipper. These ships are legendary across the globe. They do not have the massive, bulky cargo holds of the slow British merchantmen. They are built with sharp, V-shaped hulls and massive, raked masts holding an impossible amount of canvas. They are built purely for blinding, terrifying speed. They are the fastest ships on the planet, capable of outrunning pirates, blockades, and rival merchants to deliver high-value cargo like tea, coffee, and California gold. You walk out onto the wooden wharves. The labour force here is incredibly complex and totally unique to Baltimore. You hear the thick brogues of recent Irish immigrants hauling massive wooden barrels of flour. But working right alongside them, wielding heavy iron mallets and driving oakum into the seams of the ships to make them watertight, are the black ship caulkers. Unlike the Deep South, Baltimore is home to a massive, thriving, highly skilled population of free black Americans. Frederick Douglass, who escaped slavery from this very city just over a decade earlier, learned his trade and reading skills right here on these docks. The caulkers are fiercely organized. They dictate the pace of the shipyards and command high wages. It is a fragile, tense, but highly functional coexistence driven entirely by the relentless demand of maritime commerce. You inspect the loading of a clipper bound for Rio de Janeiro, checking the heavy wooden crates of Maryland tobacco and manufactured cotton goods against your leather-bound ledger. By 9 a.m., you leave the wooden world of sail and walk toward Pratt Street. You are stepping from the past directly into the future. You approach the Mount Clair station of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, the B&O. This is the very first commercial railroad in America, and it is the reason Baltimore is so incredibly rich. The city is geographically closer to the vast, resource-rich Ohio River Valley than New York or Philadelphia. The B&O Railroad acts as a massive iron funnel, sucking the wheat, coal, and timber from the Midwest straight over the Appalachian Mountains and dumping it directly onto your waiting ships. The noise here is deafening. Massive iron steam locomotives, marvels of modern engineering, hiss and belch thick black smoke, shaking the cobblestones beneath your boots. You enter the telegraph office inside the station. Just 10 years ago, Samuel Morse sent the world's first long-distance telegraph message from Washington, D.C. to this exact city. Now, The room is filled with the frantic, rhythmic clicking of brass telegraph keys. You do not wait weeks for letters carried by horse. You receive a wire confirming the price of wheat in Chicago in real time. You calculate the margins, authorize the purchase of 10 rail cars of grain, and instruct your foreman at the docks to prep a ship for London. You are moving thousands of tons of cargo across a continent and an ocean using electricity and steam. You are a modern wizard of commerce. By noon, the intense pace of the morning demands fuel. You walk toward Lexington Market, the sprawling, chaotic public market that has been operating since the 1700s. The market is a sensory explosion. Farmers from the surrounding countryside have driven their wagons into the city, selling fresh produce, butchered meats, and sharp cheeses. But in Baltimore, there is only one true delicacy that matters. You step up to a crowded, loud wooden stand piled high with crushed shells. Oysters. The Chesapeake Bay produces the finest, most abundant oysters in the world. They are so plentiful that they are not just luxury food for the rich. They are the cheap, daily staple of the working class. For just a few copper pennies, a shucker expertly pries open a dozen massive, briny oysters. You eat them raw, right there on the street, washing them down with a shot of strong, locally distilled Maryland rye whiskey. You stand elbow to elbow with railroad executives, German mechanics, and harbour sailors. In Lexington Market, the only class system that matters is who has the copper to pay for the next shell. But the democratic peace of the market is an illusion. By 3 p.m., the true violent nature of 1850s Baltimore violently erupts. A massive bell begins to toll from a nearby watchtower. Fire. In a city built heavily of brick, the warehouses and wooden docks are still incredibly vulnerable. But what happens next is what earned Baltimore the nickname Mob Town. There is no professional municipal fire department. Instead, the city is protected by independent, fiercely competitive volunteer fire companies. They have names like the Plug Uglies, the Rip Raps, and the Blood Tubs. They are essentially organized, heavily armed political street gangs. You step back into the doorway of a brick shop to stay out of the way. Down the street, 2 different fire companies are racing toward the smoke, dragging heavy hand-pumped water engines. The men are wearing brightly painted leather helmets and carrying heavy brass speaking trumpets. They arrive at the wooden fire plug at the exact same time. But instead of rushing to put out the burning warehouse, they immediately attack each other. Men draw heavy iron wrenches, wooden clubs, and even revolvers. A brutal, chaotic street brawl breaks out right in the middle of the avenue simply to claim the right to hook up their hose. These gangs are intimately tied to the Know Nothing political party, an anti-immigrant nativist faction that uses these fire companies to physically intimidate voters at the polling booths. You watch as a man is knocked unconscious with a brass nozzle, while the warehouse down the street continues to burn. The police are massively outnumbered and simply stand back. This is the raw, terrifying political machine of the 19th century. Power is not just debated in City Hall, it is physically violently enforced on the cobblestones. By 6 p.m., the riot is dispersed, the fire is eventually extinguished, and the sun begins to set. You leave the chaotic, soot-stained streets of the harbour and walk straight up the hill toward the absolute pinnacle of Baltimore society, Mount Vernon Place. As you ascend the hill, the noise of the shipyards completely vanishes. You are standing in a manicured, cross-shaped park. Towering 178 feet into the air is the massive white marble Washington Monument, the very first major monument dedicated to George Washington in the country. Surrounding the park are the homes of the elite. These are not narrow row houses. They are sprawling, 4-story mansions built of heavy brownstone and marble. You are attending a dinner party hosted by a wealthy railroad magnate. You step through the heavy mahogany doors. The interior is blindingly bright. While the working class still relies on dim, smoking whale oil lamps or expensive beeswax candles, this mansion is illuminated by modern, piped-in coal gas. Beautiful, ornate brass chandeliers project a brilliant, steady, shadowless light across the rich mahogany woodwork and the silk-covered walls. The dinner is a masterpiece of Maryland wealth. You sit at a long, polished dining table. The elite do not just eat raw oysters in the market. They dine on incredibly rich Diamondback terrapin soup, a local turtle delicacy that is famous across the Atlantic. You are served canvasback duck, roasted perfectly, accompanied by fine Madeira wine. But the conversation at the table is incredibly tense. Maryland is a slave state, but it is deeply tied to the northern industrial economy. The men at the table, merchants, bankers, and politicians, are frantically discussing the rising tensions between the North and the South. They are terrified of a civil war. If war breaks out, Baltimore, sitting directly on the border between Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania, will be crushed in the middle. They debate the compromises holding the nation together, sipping their wine under the gaslight, fully aware that the political ground beneath their marble mansions is beginning to fracture. By 10 p.m., the dinner concludes, and you step out onto the quiet, paved streets of Mount Vernon. The city below you is a sea of flickering lights. The gas street lamps cast long, elegant shadows across the cobblestones. You can hear the distant, haunting, incredibly powerful wail of a B&O steam whistle cutting through the night air, carrying freight into the dark interior of the continent. You look toward the harbour, where the invisible masts of the clipper ships blend into the black sky. You are standing in a city that possesses an almost terrifying duality. It is a city of brilliant technological advancement and brutal street violence. It is a city of profound wealth and intense labour. It is the geographic and economic hinge upon which the entire future of the United States rests. That was 24 hours in 1850s Baltimore. It was not just a waypoint on a map. It was the absolute roaring engine of American expansion. They built the ships that conquered the wind. They laid the iron that conquered the mountains, and they strung the wire that conquered time. The clippers were eventually replaced by steamships, and the violent street gangs were finally brought to heel. But the incredible infrastructure of commerce they forged out of the brick and the mud built the very foundation of the modern American economy. The world we live in today, with its instant communication and global shipping, was born right here, amidst the smell of coal smoke and oysters on the Chesapeake Bay. This video is brought to you by the Paladin Learn History app. Scan the QR code to learn more history.